Howdy folks, this is Lugnut signing in at the brand new model building station that I have at the apartment. I've been politely asked by Mrs. Lugnut to refrain from tying up our coffee table once again with model building for a month. So I've moved over here to the dining room table, and I am currently working on, as you can see, this 2000 Chevrolet Monte Carlo Dale Earnhardt car that was provided to me by our good friend Old Tom over at Rambler 69. So huge thanks again to him for providing this kit. Been making some progress on it. We got all the paint done. As we said in our July 4th video, we got all that paint done between yesterday the 4th and today the 5th. I got a little bit there on the plate that was the last minute stuff. And so far in the building process, this is where we are on about step 2 or 3. Some of the front suspension is in. As you can see, the half of the roll cage is built. The next step was to do the seat, and I realized while looking at the instructions that there are decals for the seat. There's the little Butler built decals, as well as the seat belts themselves are a decal, and I left the decal sheet along with these parts that were freshly painted back at Jethro's garage, so I needed to go home and get them, but figured this is a good time to cut in and show you the progress I've made so far on the building. All of the paint's done, including the body. However, the body has a slight bit of orange peel to it, just the way it laid down with the airbrush. So we are letting that cure for about a week, and then we're gonna polish it out and see what happens. Should come out pretty good. But got the full new modeling setup here going, and I'm gonna keep building on this, and we'll check in a little while. You'll see some more progress. I'll give you a little glimpse into the setup here. I'm soaking the decals for the seat right now, but I have my iPad set up over there with the 2000 Cracker Barrel 500 at Atlanta Motor Speedway playing, which is, by the way, Race This Car 1. So just a little insight, what I usually like to do when I'm building models. I like watching, if I'm building a NASCAR model, I like watching a relevant race to go with it. Plus, I always just love an excuse to watch an old NASCAR race. Well, I've never done seatbelt decals and seat decals, but it turned out pretty doggone neat. It was a bear to put on. It really did not want to go on. And you can see the seat got a little bit scratched from my having to pry around with some tweezers to get it to line up where it's supposed to line up, and I'm not really sure that the top of the belts lines up correctly, but there's also a little Butler built thing there. And another cool detail I didn't even think about, there is a Simpson decal for the window net. So this thing is very highly detailed as far as the cosmetics of it go. This is by far the highest detail I've ever seen in one of these kits that I've built anyway. It's pretty neat. I mean, it adds a lot to the seat, just that. So I'm pretty excited to see how much further this thing keeps going, but it's going pretty well so far. I mean, this is the next step I have, which is to lay this side on, and then there's a stiffener bar to add into the middle, which I just cut out here. It's not painted exactly the way the instructions manual tells you to, but yeah, it'll be fine. You're not gonna really see it once the body gets on there. Well, in about 2 hours, I pretty much built the entire car. Now, it's now the next night, and I've now finished the wheels and tires up, put those on. The decals aren't laying perfectly on all of the tires. Not really sure what's going on with those, but anyway, the car's pretty much done. The glass is drying in the body of the car, and then there are hoses that all went inside the cockpit of the car there. They weren't incredibly clear on the instructions where they all routed, and it's not incredibly clear when you look at it if there's any point A's to point B's. So other than they're supposed to come out the vent windows here in the back, but I really could not figure it out enough to bother with it, and so just it's going to be a bit more basic than normal. And the only thing that fought me really hard was the dashboard, especially when it came to the steering column and the steering wheel, because you have to glue the dashboard flat like this. The actual instrument cluster is a separate piece that glues on flat that way, and then the steering column is a diagonal shaft there. So if you push any one thing together to glue it into place where it's supposed to be, another one is being pushed in a bad direction and inevitably falls off. So I ended up just settling with the instrument cluster and the dashboard. The steering wheel is just in the seat. Well, it was. I think it fell out, but the steering wheel is just kind of there. We'll pretend it's parked on pit road or something. And as for there being no steering column, oh well. It's suspension of disbelief on that, I guess. But as of right now, I'm working on. I got all the glass in, and it's hopefully fairly dry. Some of the Mod Podge did not really go away. It's still got a little bit of white cloud on there, but we'll see if it goes any further. But probably gonna go ahead and start decaling the body, and then well, I'll put it on the chassis first and then decal it. Here's the body mated to the chassis. It's fairly well on there. It's still, well, not really. I'm still working on it and fighting with it, but there's a couple of these window braces that are supposed to go inside on the dash. They were another part that I couldn't really figure out how they were supposed to line up. I made some attempts, and this quarter glass keeps falling out. I'm gonna have to re-glue that in, but I kept making several attempts to try and figure out how those braces were supposed to line up, and they were acting like they really didn't want to. But we're gonna get the decals on here, and it'll start looking more and more like a real big boy grown-up race car. I mean, the hood opens very nice. Obviously just shut itself, but opens very nice. And I mean, it's a really, really nice kit. If I had more talent in building models, this thing would be top-notch, incredible. But I guess for what I can do, this is the best I can pull off. But I mean, overall, I'm still happy with the car. I'm not at all upset with how it turned out. I just know it could be nicer with a little bit more talent or practice or time. So luckily, I have plenty more time to practice and learn and get better at building models, and maybe one day I'll build another one of these kits and sit it next to this one and show the improvements I made over the years. But I'll go ahead and get decaling it. As you saw with the last couple of photos there in that slideshow, the car is done. It is all wrapped up and finished. It was a very fun build. I'm very surprised that I built it as quickly as I did. Told you I turned on that 2000 Atlanta race, and there was still about 30 or 40 laps to go when I was done building the car. Decaling took a while. There's a lot of decals on this kit, and it doesn't really show up in the camera as much as it does in person, but you can see even there, and especially on the hood, some of it is hazy. It's not really set in nearly as well as a lot of other decals that I did, but I will say only this one tore, this stripe, and I was pulling it the wrong way, so that's why it tore. It was not really of its own fault. It was kind of mine. But overall, car's done. It was a fun build. It looks good. If you guys have any tips or solutions of things to do with these decals after they're laid like this to get rid of some of the fogginess, I would love to hear them. Get this thing looking a little bit better, a little bit more improved. But overall, it was a great build. Good fun. Again, really surprised it was completed as quickly as it was, but I quite like the car, and huge thank you again, Old Tom, to give me this kit. It was very, very kind of you, very generous, and this will always be the Old Tom car in my mind. I'm probably going to keep your shop card very near it, just to remember that you were the reason that I have this car, and you're the reason I wanted to build it exactly the way it was. So thanks everybody for watching. Appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to my dad's channel if you haven't already. We'd love to keep you around. So for now, this is Lugnut, over and out.